Okay, let's jump right in. The world is, frankly, holding its breath as tensions with Iran are reaching a boiling point. So in this explainer, we're going to break down the key claims, the major players, and the high-stakes game being played in this nuclear crisis, all based on our analysis of the latest reports.
So let's start with the bombshell claim that's really dominating the headlines. A key figure in Iran, Javad Larijani, has come out and said, quote, "We can become a nuclear power in 2 weeks." Now, a statement like that, it doesn't just raise eyebrows, it sends absolute shockwaves around the globe.
So to really get why this is such a big deal, you have to know who Javad Larijani is. According to the source, he's not just some random official. No, he's one of the most powerful voices inside the Iranian establishment. He's a direct spokesperson for the supreme leader. So when he speaks, it's not just his opinion. He's basically delivering the official line from the very top, which gives that 2-week claim incredible weight. And that brings us right to our first section, Iran's nuclear countdown. We're going to really unpack what's behind these incredibly dramatic claims and the tension they're creating. But get this, the 2-week timeline isn't even the most shocking one. The source also reports that Larijani has said before that if they were under extreme pressure, Iran could go nuclear in 48 hours. I mean, that's just a mind-bogglingly short amount of time. It suggests they have a capability that's just sitting there ready to be flipped on like a switch. And then there's this really provocative question that the source brings up. It points to a recent earthquake in Iran and speculates, could that have been a cover? Was it actually an underground nuclear test? It's just a question for now, but it's one that kind of hangs in the air, and it really shows you the level of suspicion and uncertainty we're dealing with. Of course, claims like these are guaranteed to get a massive reaction from the United States. So let's look at the next piece of this puzzle, the American position, which, as the source frames it, really centers around these high-stakes threats from former President Trump. So here's the deal the U.S. was putting on the table, according to this analysis. It was this stark choice. On one side, you've got an offer, make a deal with me, basically a call to come back to the negotiating table. But on the other side, a really chilling threat. Iran could face a fate worse than Venezuela's, which the source interprets as a direct and very serious threat to Iran's leadership. And you know, these weren't just empty words. The source says this threat was backed up with some serious military muscle. We're talking an entire aircraft carrier, along with about 90 F-18 fighter jets and other ships, all reportedly sent and positioned right near the Strait of Hormuz. That's a critical choke point for global oil, and it puts immense pressure right on Iran's doorstep. But the U.S. wasn't acting in a vacuum here. The source material points a finger directly at the influence of Israel's then Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. It alleges that his demands to the U.S. were absolute, not just a strike, but the total destruction of the regime, its missile factories, and this non-negotiable bottom line, uranium 0%. So with all this intense pressure coming from different sides, you can imagine the entire region was put on the absolute highest alert. Let's take a look at how Iran's neighbors were reacting to this spiraling crisis. The diplomatic fallout was immediate. The source lays out this incredible rapid-fire chain of events. So the day after Netanyahu's big speech, Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman reportedly gets on the phone with Iran's president. And the very next day, Qatar's prime minister does the exact same thing. I mean, this isn't just routine diplomacy. This is an urgent, full-blown scramble. But here's where the analysis points to a really fascinating and kind of counterintuitive shift. For the first time, the source claims key Gulf countries were sending signals that they did not want a U.S. attack on Iran. Now that's a huge change from their usual stance. So the big question is, why? Why the sudden change of heart? Well, the answer, according to this analysis, really boils down to economics. Because this isn't just a regional squabble. The potential global economic fallout would be massive, and it would affect every single one of us. The most immediate place you'd feel it, at the gas pump. A war with Iran, this source predicts, would send oil prices through the roof. We're talking $150, maybe even $200 a barrel. An increase like that would trigger absolutely devastating inflation that would be felt in every household, everywhere in the world. The source also details this very specific theory about a supposed U.S. economic strategy. The plan, it claims, would be to seize Iran's oil reserves, flood the entire global market with that oil, and then deliberately crash the price all the way down to $20 or $30 a barrel. And the domestic goal of all this? To slash inflation inside the United States. And that explains why Iran's neighbors are so worried now.
A plan like that would be absolutely catastrophic for economies that depend on oil like Saudi Arabia. It would threaten their massive investment projects like the futuristic city of Neom, and it would ultimately cause huge economic instability. They simply do not want this American plan, as it's described here, to play out.
So, let's just recap. We have a nuclear countdown ticking. We have military forces moving into position, and we have this incredibly high-stakes economic game being played. All of these things are pushing the situation to a really dangerous breaking point.
And then, just when you think things can't get any more complicated, the source introduces one final dramatic wildcard. It speculates about the possibility of Russia transferring a small number of its, estimated 6,000 nuclear warheads over to Iran. I mean, even just 10 or 20 of those would instantly rewrite all the rules and change the entire global balance of power overnight.
Which leaves us with the final and frankly unavoidable question. With all the pieces on the board, the threats, the armies, the economic stakes, the nuclear brinkmanship, you have to ask, is a devastating war now truly inevitable? That's the critical question this analysis leaves us with. And for now, the world just watches and waits.